Greetings, members, one and all of the Salivation Nation. $2,939 silver. Time marches on for the debt clock. Let's explore. In the next video of the ongoing series on the silver and the debt clock, we are taking a look at a number here. This is not a price. It is a ratio between dollar and silver, and it is at $2,939. You may remember, if you've seen my past videos in the playlist, which I will post a link to the end screen of this video so that you can track and see the silver's ratio between the production of silver mined per year. We're going to look at that and see exactly what this consists of here, because it is not a price. I find myself having to explain this each time when I do this video. Some folks don't completely get what this is about. It's the year-over-year increase in the U.S. M2 money supply, divided by the yearly world production of silver in ounces. And so what is that telling us? Well, it's telling us that the Federal Reserve is printing a lot of money. That's the M2 money supply, especially those dollar bills that have been issued and printed year over year. The velocity of that money being printed, not necessarily spent, which is one reason why the silver's price is lower to some extent. There's other reasons why it's lower now too, but I'll kind of save that discussion for another video. Now, the other question one may ask, especially when they see a number like this, is should silver's price be $2,939 per ounce in terms of the cost, as opposed to the ratio, silver's ratio for the amount of ounces mined per year compared to the amount of dollar bills printed per year that make up the M2 money supply. And I believe it should be higher than it is now for a myriad of reasons. And I believe it will get higher in price soon. How soon will that be? No one really knows. I kind of expected that silver would be higher than it is right now. But looking at the grand scheme of things, and this is kind of what these videos are about, it goes all the way back to this number right here, the U.S. national debt. This is now ticked over to $29 trillion. It's crazy to think about how much debt the United States is holding. That's the official debt. That doesn't include derivatives and the like. And there is a lot of spending in this country. And when you take that and parse it out via how many dollars per taxpayer, well, that's $229,706. And if you take it per citizen in the United States, because not everybody pays taxes, not everybody has skin in the game, it's $87,154 per citizen. But the taxpayers take the brunt of this because they're the ones that are paying, and they have skin in the game. And so it is definitely a concern that this deficit spending that is going on is what is increasing that debt. And there's already been, since I recorded the last video on this topic, several more packages that have been passed by Congress have been well over $1 trillion in spending for infrastructure and the like, and they're proposing more and more spending, more and more government bureaucracy and mandates happening, and that's going to cause them to have to print more dollars to back all that stuff up. Not that they weren't doing it even before the pandemic, but regardless, there's where we are at, folks. And so that's why the dollar to silver ratio is important, to give you an understanding when you take it into account, especially with how silver is viewed these days. The prices are low. Silver is running in the low 20s right now, the $20, $21, $22 per ounce. And that's the cost of silver. But as far as the amount of silver that's mined in a given year compared to the amount of dollars that are printed, there's 2,939 of these dollar bills that I'm holding in my hand right now to cover for every ounce of silver that is mined per year. And so there's no limitations to how many dollars can be printed, but there is limitations to how much silver is mined. It's based off of what they can afford to take out of the ground, what's discovered. Most of the silver that is mined is as a byproduct of other metals out there. And that is something that is key to understand. So what's happening? What does this mean in this day and age? Because last time when I did this video, something happened that's very different than what's happening in this video. And this is why time is marching on for the debt clock, which is why I believe it is probably a little bit more accurate these days, because we're talking about inflation and not transitory inflation. We're talking about inflation that is recognized, and it's a tough pill to swallow for the Fed and for Congress and for especially for us that are at the business end of what this is about. In other words, we're the victims of inflation. It's a hidden tax on us all. So therefore, the cost that it takes to mine silver, to produce it, and to sell it is going up, which leads to higher premiums. And so therefore, the cost of acquiring an ounce of silver is greater these days than it was in the past. And that's just the name of the game. That's part of what inflation is about. Of course, there's other factors that are involved now, too, that are certainly unique to this situation, including supply chain issues, greater demand for silver, and how it's being disseminated through bullion dealers and the like. And so therefore, it's a different kind of world than it was when I first started doing these videos on the debt clock. If you look back through that playlist and sort it by the oldest video, look at the number that's there when I first started this series. And that was really high when you think about it. And, you know, we come to understand kind of what this debt clock means. And we look at the different numbers here that relate to all of these things, especially when we look at the debt to GDP ratio. We're at the highest now ever before at 125.91%. That's federal debt to gross domestic product. That's alarming, folks. Something has got to give here somewhere, sometime. What would that look like? I'm not sure. As time marches on for the debt clock, it's anybody's guess as to how that is going to turn out in the long run. But in the if nothing is done with the reforming the monetary system. But we know they are working right now to reform the monetary system, and more than likely it's not going to be good because it's going to center around the technology of a digital ledger system, and whether that be blockchain, hashgraph, or some other new system that will revolve around a central bank digital currency or a combination thereof, something that can be tracked either by the IMF or central banks around the world, including the Federal Reserve. Fedcoin is being talked about. But whatever this reset is, this great reset, it is going to involve a new dollar. And what that new dollar will look like is well, it's anybody's guess. Could we revalue the dollar? Could we revalue the debt? I don't know. And in that case, gold and silver could be grossly revalued too, to some extent. We'll see how that plays out. Nonetheless, we see here a lot of different numbers, a lot of high numbers, and we look about unfunded debt or interest and what that comprises of, and also the money creation, the U.S. M2 money supply, how much has been created since from 2000 to right now, 2021. It's alarming. Currency and credit derivatives now, the U.S. Treasury dollars now, all these different things, the trade balances, a lot of reds here. And it's crazy to think about all of this stuff, especially when we look at what we're looking with household assets, U.S. total national assets, and assets per citizen. These numbers are much smaller, much smaller than the numbers that you see up here. As well, especially here, the national debt and the like. The debt per taxpayer is at least less than the assets per citizen on average. But regardless, there's unfunded liabilities. There's a lot of different things that are going on here that are troubling numbers that we can see. But the debt clock is an interesting website to check out. And everybody should look at it from time to time to see what's going on here. And I believe that it gives you a perspective. And I believe that this tells us that stacking silver, and by the way, gold as well too. We don't talk about the dollar to gold ratio. Those numbers are crazy too. Look at that. It's nuts. And then we look about what it was in 1913 when the Federal Reserve Act began. $2.66 for silver and $28.69 per ounce for gold. Both of those numbers still high comparatively when we look at the ratio compared to the actual price of silver and gold. One thing I will note in this, as this series continues, as time marches on, and it is going up from the last video that I did about this, is that this in no way, shape, or form is any inclination or implying that silver should be thousands of dollars per ounce, or even $100 an ounce, or even $50 an ounce. It's merely a guide to show you how much money is printed, the velocity of money creation, not the velocity of money in commerce or used for transactions. And just goes to show you that when there's no limitations on any entity, compared to the limitations of mining, of energy, expulsion, and the like to produce an ounce of silver, it just goes to show you that one thing is limitless and the other thing is limited. Now, silver is not all that rare. We know that, especially compared to gold. But it is a precious metal. It has been used as money for thousands of years. It was only until the 60s, the mid-60s, the late 60s, that it stopped being used in transactions. But nonetheless, I believe it's a good idea to have this level of understanding and perspective, another area of perspective. That's what these videos are about, to give you perspective on the velocity of money compared to the amount of money printed, these dollar bills printed in this ratio with silver. So there you have it. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. I would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch this video, and to encourage you to please rate, share, and do your best to get out of debt.